week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury, and OLEKSANDR. I am very feel Usyk. Get this. Tyson Fury versus OLEKSANDR Usyk's talks are confirmed. Tyson Fury is in talks with OLEKSANDR Usyk for a unification bout that would see both Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte step aside. Wow. Tyson Fury's unification bout could be right around the corner, with Bob Arum revealing that there is a push in the Middle East for the fight to be the Gypsy King's next venture into the ring. The ongoing talks with Dillian Whyte, who the WBC has mandated to Fury to face, has been described as chaos ahead of the talks entering purse bids on Friday. That has raised uncertainty as to who exactly Fury will face off against the next time he enters the ring, and he claims regarding the talks with Fury would have a significant impact. For a unification fight to occur, Whyte and Anthony Joshua, who Usyk is set to fight in a rematch, would both have step aside, or would have to both step aside, and would demand a pretty penny to do so. According to The Sun, the fee could be as high as 20 million pounds for their pair to step aside, 15 million pounds for Joshua, and 5 million pounds for Whyte, and it would send shockwaves through the heavyweight division. A unification fight is highly likely to have a rematch clause, seeing the pair go toe-to-toe again later this year, while both Whyte and Joshua would still be keen to have their shots at the belts. Okay, that could see quite a queue form behind whoever is crowned the first ever 4-belt unification heavyweight champion, with the likes of Joseph Parker, Luis Ortiz, Joe Joyce setting in the solid spot in the rankings. Okay, the trio would likely find themselves at the back of the queue. However, as negotiations with Joshua and Whyte to step aside are highly likely to include clauses that would see them face-to-face against a unified champion. There could, however, be vacated belts in particular with the WBC, where Parker, a close friend of Fury, is highly ranked, but has made it clear that he wouldn't fight Fury. Whatever happens, the eyes of the world are cast in the direction of the heavyweight belts, and huge fights are on the cards. Let me counterpunch. I'm going to do a live on this, but I did want to cover this and just touch on it a second. Anthony Joshua made one of the biggest mistakes in an interview on the IFL. Okay, he went with the idea, the possibility of stepping aside, because first he said, no, they know not to come with me with that business. And then he was like, you know, I'm a businessman, ain't it? Isn't it? You know, it's about business, isn't it? And I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. They're gonna come to you with that, or you're open to being a businessman if it's right. So he let that open. Okay. And another problem is Eddie Hearn hasn't announced the date. Okay, that's another problem, because if they haven't announced the date, that means something else is going on that we don't know about. This may be it. Okay. See, especially if they confirm talks, that means like the Usyk and Joshua rematch, even though he has contracted or activated his rematch clause, doesn't mean it's set in stone yet. Okay, what this reminds me of, let's go back in the spirals of time, and you remember when the last person that was the A side activated his rematch clause and didn't get it. Well, for one, that was Vladimir. Okay, that's more recent, but behind that, I was really referring to Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather. Remember when Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya fought to a split decision, and it was in favor of Floyd? Well, De La Hoya activated his rematch clause. He already did that. That was already set in motion. That wasn't something he was thinking about or pondering doing. That's something that he did. Well, Floyd fought Ricky Hatton, okay, and then he, boom, Shazam, vanished, retired. And Oscar De La Hoya never got his chance. And what he did in return, he fought Manny Pacquiao and it was utterly retired himself. So he got retired because he got beat into submission by a smaller, faster guy in Manny Pacquiao. Now, with Anthony Joshua and Dillian White, you know, they can't get it together. The tricky thing about this, though, is if the WBC, if they decide to strip Tyson Fury, then who the hell is going to be fighting for that belt? More than likely Deontay Wilder or and Dillian White. But then here's the problem. If that happens, how are they going to bring Usyk on board to fight Tyson Fury without that belt? Because Usyk, his overall goals is pretty much side by side by Anthony Joshua's. They're the same. Okay, because Usyk he's been the undisputed cruiserweight champion, and he wants to be the undisputed heavyweight champion. Okay, so that's what Joshua wants as well. You know, the money is not the big thing for those two guys, but the whole thing is getting these other two guys to step aside. That's what's stopping Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Nonetheless, they're both training. You know, and and I think that if they're confirmed talking, Tyson Eddie Hearn hasn't came out with those dates. It's more to it than people understand. Okay, that's that. You know, so if they could offer 15 million pounds to Anthony Joshua for him to step aside, and 5 million, which is about what, 7 or 8 million pounds, or $8 million for Dillian White, and they both step aside, that means they have the winner at some point. But who's going to get the winner first? So it's still a cluster. You can pay these guys off, but these guys have to fight. AJ, he needs his rematch, right? Because of the contract. And Dillian White needs his overall opportunity to fight for the WBC or whatever, period. Right? But see, both of those will be enticing. So who gets what? See, it could very well be Anthony Joshua taking on Dillian White at the end of the day. Right? Depending on what happens with Usyk and Tyson Fury. Because if, let's say, Tyson Fury beats Usyk, then Tyson Fury would be, just the man. Okay? He would be the man because he beat the quote-unquote number 2. Well, he goes in there, and then Anthony Joshua has first dibs because they had to pay him more money to step aside naturally. Then he goes in there and he upsets Tyson Fury. This is boxing. A lot of people are like, that's crazy. No. Every war is his own war, okay? Okay, it's not a deciding factor when you have two warriors getting in the ring. There's no guarantee in boxing, okay? So, that being said, then Dillian White needs his shot. Then Dillian White fights Anthony Joshua. So you never know. You never know how this could go. This is huge news. Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, and see, Usyk, he normally wouldn't even be talking, or his team wouldn't even be talking to Tyson Fury if everything was set in stone with the rematch with Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, back in talks. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.